Everybody, if you are able to turn on your camera, and when I say that, there are things that yesterday we had a quite unfortunate incident with someone in a bathtub. So bathtubs and showers, you're absolved from this. This request is not for you, although that would be fine, but we're going to skip that. So if you can turn on your camera, that would be more fun. It's easier to talk to faces than it is to simply talk to names. So thank you for doing that. Okay, friends, we are getting together and we're here to talk about 8 weeks to wealth. So this is a discussion about how to get richer. Now, as soon as I say that, there's always a group of people that say, but wait a minute, Jason, there's so much more to life than just money. There is, by the way. It's just not what we're going to talk about on this call. This is a call for capitalists. We're going to talk about making more money. And when we do that, some people are going to say, well, what's the mindset with that? I don't care. We're not going to even discuss mindset. We're just going to talk about making more money. I promise you on your training calendar, there is a whole bunch of other things for mindset and for everything else. They're all great. It's just not now. So if this doesn't resonate with you, there you go. Okay, cool. Now that we got that out of the way, let's discuss how this is going to go. This is going to be the fastest 40 minutes, give or take, in real estate. We are going to hit very complicated topics, and we are going to do it relatively quickly. You will be able to slow me down in the chat if you have a problem. Other than that, if you are a note taker, I would advise you to get out your pens. We only have... Oh,
I stopped at our lot first.
We got to put you on mute because you're negotiating an inspection. Perfect. Okay, we are going to do just 2 housekeeping issues. Joy? Number 1, let's just remind everybody who I'm not. Can you release that thing that the legal department wrote? It's coming. Wait for it. Joy, are you using a dial-up connection? Okay, here we go. Friends, I am not a lawyer, doctor, or rocket scientist. The materials that we're presenting to you, I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer. I'm going to give you the questions that you might want to ask your accountant and your lawyer, but that's about it. So KWRI and our legal team would like me to advise you that I have no training in any of this, and you are well served to leave the call right now and never return. Joy, I think we covered it there. We even took it a step further. Needless to say, everything that you're about to see is copywritten. And because I don't know what that means, if you'd like to use it, you're more than welcome, but I can't guarantee your safety when you do. Joy, does that cover all the housekeeping issues?
Yep, all set.
Excellent. Okay, here we go. Friends, I was going to make a PowerPoint, but I don't know how. I also don't know anybody that has a lot of money that does. So instead, we are going to use the board. That's not to say someone doesn't know how to make a PowerPoint. It's just not me. I want to talk to you about the way that money flows. And here's the confusion that most people have. Most real estate agents wake up every day and they think they're in the sales business. And I just want to remind everybody, that's only the first opportunity of our industry. So here it is in order. Opportunity number 1, I sell stuff. There it is. That's the first opportunity for our industry. It's fantastic. It's where all of us start. Opportunity number 2, I turn my sales career into a sales business. Write it down. Business does not mean team. It might mean team, but I want to tell you, I know a heck of a lot of sole practitioners that make a heck of a lot more money than people that own teams that don't make any money. So anyone that's walking around and making you feel bad for not having a team is an idiot. You can make a lot of money with a team, and you can make a lot of money as a solo agent. And that's just the way it goes. So when I say business, what do I mean? I mean more reliable income. That's what I mean. You own a business, all that means is you own more reliable income. So you might be a sole practitioner who simply goes out and hires a Care Bear. And when I say Care Bear, if you don't remember, those are the little bears that have like rainbows on their tummy and they shine and it goes. You might decide to go hire that person to just wake up every day and love on your database. And you would grade that person by how many times they make someone in your database smile. By the way, if that's all you did, you'd sell more houses this year. Fact. You might wake up and say, I'm going to turn my sales career into a sales business by systemizing my lead gen. And by the way, you don't have to make it complicated. You could just do this. You could have 50 cups of coffee every week with 50 different people. That could be your entire lead gen. Now, you'd be zooted out of your mind, but I would just want you to know if that's all you did, you'd make more money. And anyone that tells you that that's not complicated enough is trying to sell you something. It could be that easy. So opportunity number one, I sell stuff. Opportunity number two, I turn my sales career into a sales business. Opportunity number three, I buy real estate. Friends, highlight it, circle it, take a picture, anything you want to do. I buy real estate is the greatest part of the three. I love them all, but that's the one where your wealth is going to be made. So let's get really clear. I sell homes to make cash, period. What do I do once I have the cash? There's only 4 things you can do with cash. Number one, you can spend it. We all know how. Number two, you can give it away to charity. KW gives more money to charity than any other real estate company on the planet. You got number two cold. Number three, you save it. And I don't care if it's in your mattress or in your freezer, or those of you that get really creative and put a safe in your master closet. No one's ever thought of that before. That's saving it. It's fantastic. Then you have number four, I invest it. And everyone's wrapped around the axle with number four. So I just want to clarify it for you. What does that mean? It means this. I buy stuff that goes up in value and throws off positive cash flow. That's it. And you're going to say, wait a minute, Jason, there's other ways to invest. I have collected a massive amount of Beanie Babies. And if I showed you what they're, okay, not interested. I get that, but I'm not teaching the Beanie Baby model because it's not duplicatable and it isn't reliable. You know why? Because Beanie Babies come into fashion and out of fashion. Same with Pokemon. Same with every other thing. So let's just be clear. If we know it goes up in value and it throws off positive cash flow, you're good. That's how the wealthiest people make their money. How do I know that? I actually know that to be a fact because we went and studied it. And here's what we found. There's only 22.5 million rich people on the planet. And you're going to say, well, how many people are on the planet? Just under 8 billion. You're going to say, well, gosh, Jason, I can only do math in 3% and 6% increments. So what does that come out to? Which, by the way, that's me too. I'm a realtor. It turns out it's like statistically zero. That's the math. It's unbelievable. And then you'd say, well, Jay, how are you defining rich? It's a great question. We defined rich as people that have at least $1 million in investable cash, excluding the equity in their home and the value of any collectibles, including Beanie Babies, which is a debate. So now you realize there's only 22.5 million of them. Well, what else can I tell you about them? A third of them live in the continental United States. The other 2/3 are spread across the entire planet. So Warren Buffett calls that phenomenon winning the ovarian lottery. And what Warren Buffett says is if you manage to make it to America or be born here, you have a better chance of being rich. Based on those numbers, 100% accurate. Okay, so what else did we learn? We learned that the wealthy, no matter where they are in the world, they all make their money top 3 ways. I'm going to give them to you in order. So if you're a note taker, you're going to want to write this down because this is just fact. The number one way that the wealthy make their money, which I think all of you should do, inheritance. Joy, it's inheritance. I know, it's great. But here's the deal. That's not duplicatable and reliable for many of us. So you might not be able to have the inheritance thing working for you. I myself have been trying to get the Keller family to adopt me for the last 5 years, but they like their son. So I had to move on to the next number. Number 2, own a business. Everyone on this call owns a business. I just want to remind you of that. Number 3, real estate speculation. You are in pole position for number 2 and number 3 of the way that the wealthiest people in the world make all their money. That should fill you with confidence and joy. If I would have said to you, the number 2 way is to be the greatest looking person on the planet with the best hair, and the number 3 way is to become a world famous supermodel, some of us would be out. Those of us who have new hair would be in. Yes, yes, Joy, most of this is new. I'm just saying, I didn't say that. It's own a business and invest in real estate. Friends, you should be doing this. The challenge with it, number 1, you don't know what to go buy and invest in. Number 2, you don't have the deal flow so that it shows up on your desk all the time. And number 3, some of you think you don't have enough money to start. If there's a fourth, it's that those of you that do have enough money, you don't actually know when to deploy it. One of the reasons people don't get wealthy is because they want to stay liquid and they feel the need to visit their money. So they send it to a bank, which is a place for money to die, not live. The idea here is that money visits a bank before it goes and it finds the place where it really wants to be, which is in things that go up in value and throw off positive cash flow. I'm going to prove it to you because of this drawing. If you are ever interested in being wealthy, write this down. This isn't just Jason's idea. This came from really rich people with mustaches. So follow me on this. This thing right here, I'm going to show you the flow of money. This right here is your wealth coordination account. Joy, put that in the chat if you would, because I don't know how to spell all of those words. Wealth coordination account. That's what this is. Coming out of your wealth coordination account, you have this thing. This thing is called consumption. Joy, in the chat. This is the consumption account. And all this means is what's your monthly burn rate for your life. I did this exercise with a kid earlier this week, I'm 43 now, he was in his 30s, so he's a kid. And I said, so what's your burn rate? And he said, $5,000. And I said, every month? He said, yeah. I said, awesome, here's the problem. I have your statements here in front of me because you sent them in. You spend $11,000 a month. And this kid said, yeah, but my goal is 5. Let's not get wrapped around the axle on this thing. I don't mean your budget. I don't mean the number you wish you spent. I want to know what you actually spend. And I don't want you to feel badly about what you actually spend. I want you to feel great about what you actually spend. In this case, this person, let's just say it's $15,000 a month. That's their burn rate. I'm making no judgment. This shouldn't be as little as you can possibly survive on. This should be, what do you spend to wake up and actually enjoy your life? Because I got news for you. You don't have an unlimited supply of it. And to wait to enjoy it to some later date, foolish way to look at the world. Then you got this thing right here. This thing is called safe. This is your emergency money. And there's 2 rules to the emergency money. Rule number 1, it's a multiple of your burn rate. It's blank times your burn rate. And you're going to say, well, Jason, how many times my burn rate? Totally up to you. And it should change probably as your life does. When I was in my 20s, 0 felt pretty good to me. I was invincible. Roy Callan knew me in my 20s. He'll tell you, invincible. My 30s, as invincible. I'm in my 40s now, and I want a 6. I am scared of my shadow some days. I now want 6 months of reserves in my emergency account. You do you. Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3, maybe it's 4. Doesn't matter what it is. So for me, that's 90 grand in this example. Thumbs up if you have your camera on and you follow me so far. Anybody? Good. You're almost done with the drawing, by the way. And when I show you how to use this thing as a tool, your head is going to explode all over your computer screen, and this will have been worth it. This side right here, you're going to have these rectangles. See these things? Every one of these rectangles is a way that money comes into your life, either weekly or monthly or annually or quarterly. It's just the money that comes into your life. So if you said, okay, Jay, what's your first one? I got this W-2 gig here. I'm your head of learning and industry. It's a great honor for me. So I would put W-2 job. That's what I got. What else do I have? I have profit share at KW. I make about $1,500 a month. I love it. It's great. I got my profit share. What else do I have? I do some coaching. You're experiencing that in real time. Hope you don't think I'm terrible at it. I got that thing going for me. What else do I got? I own a bunch of buildings. Great. Building 1, building 2, and I could just keep going. And I could keep adding the buildings that I own. You will have whatever it is that you have. And at this point, you are almost done with your drawing. So you have cash burn for your life, your safety net, and this entire side is revenue. When we did this with Gary, he had over 200 of these rectangles. So it turns out he's going to be okay. He just has rectangles. It's awesome. So now, the last piece of this thing is this right here. This box, IRS. You see, they want to be a part of your life. They're in it. Now, there is well-known 3 acceptable tax strategies. Number 1, pay as much as you can. This is the one most of your accountants are into. And by the way, they're not bad people, but I want you to ask yourself this. Do you think your accountant wants to make $1 million a year? If the answer is yes, then I want you to then take the number, the amount of money that you pay for each of your returns, probably $1,000 total a year, $1,500 a year. And I want you to divide 1,000,000 by that number and then realize how many different people's tax returns that person has to do to make their $1,000,000. And then I want you to ask how much time they spend sitting around thinking about your situation. Once you did that, you'd understand that option one, which is pay as much as possible, is the way that most people are living right now. Not because they're bad people, but because they don't know the right questions to ask. Strategy number two, pay as little as possible legally. That's the one I'm into. Strategy number three, keep a go bag packed at all time in case of raid and needing to leave the country. It's not my style. You do you. So when I talk about IRS, here's what I know. I know for most people, this is going to be 45 to 50%. For me, my goal every year, absolute zero. And when you get into absolute zero, you start asking questions like, how do I maximize my 199A? How do I use the Augusta rule to offset? How do I use cost segregation? You start to ask different questions and you start to study it because there are so many ways. You know, the tax code is 78,000 pages long and you get to decide. It's either 78,000 pages of rules on how to pay or 78,000 rules on how not to. I'm a number two guy. So my goal here is zero. So now you got this thing drawn. How does it work? Here's how it becomes a tool. Every month, every 2 weeks really, I get this paycheck. That money comes right out of here and it drops into my wealth coordination account. Love it. My profit share comes directly and drops into my wealth coordination account. Love it. My coaching goes right into my wealth coordination account. Now these buildings, a little different. These need to have some operating budgets in them because they're buildings. But past whatever I need to keep in there to run it, every month I sweep all the extra money into my wealth coordination account. And now what happens? Well, these are dollars and they're falling into the account and they're falling and they're falling and they just keep falling. And as soon as they start falling in, they hit a drain right here. And what happens is this account fills up with money. Because I got to pay my bills to live my life. Thumbs up if you follow me on that one. Great. So then every month, this account goes up. And then every month I pay the bills and this account goes down. I want you to think of this account like your lungs. I breathe in, I breathe out. I don't feel guilty about breathing. It's not a bad thing. It just happens. It goes up, it goes down. It goes up, it goes down. That's perfect. Now, as soon as there's excess money, this is number one. Now this drain opens and this thing starts filling up. But here's what we know about this thing. The money never comes out of this thing because it's my emergency fund, which leads me to rule number two on the emergency fund. You got to have some rules. And if you have a significant other, you need to agree on them with that person. Because if you don't, you're going to convince yourselves you have an emergency. You're going to come home. Trevor's going to come home and be like, look, I've been working 150 hours a week, okay, for 9 months straight. It's an emergency. We're going to Tahiti. I'm doing this for us. That's not an emergency, Trevor. And if you don't talk about it ahead of time, you break into the emergency glass. I don't like my car anymore. I promise you, if I go get a brand new Ferrari, I'm going to sell more houses because I'm going to feel better driving to the office every day. And everyone's going to think I'm a winner. Just get on board with this thing. What do you think? It's coming out of the emergency fund. That's not a good use of the money. So you got to have the rules. And then as you go, this fills up until it's completely filled up. It has this. Now this drain closes forever. So number two, where my money goes, is now gone. Don't have to worry about it. So now what happens? Well, every single month this comes in, I'm still breathing. I'm not dying, just got to breathe. And now this thing starts filling up. Now we are cooking with gas. Now, as this thing starts to fill up, I need to deploy this money. Most people in the world stop here. I mean, they never really understand any of this. But what they know instinctively is I have a personal checking account and I spend money out of it. And then sometimes I spend less and that checking account money rises and I should do something with it someday. And what do they do with it? They do lunacy with it. They end up buying a house over here, maybe a duplex over here. This one has some money sitting with their financial advisor. And before you know it, you have a junk drawer of investment and you wonder why you're not wealthy. All you get is safe. You never get wealth, you just get safe. Because a junk drawer is not a strategy. So what is a strategy for this? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. It's 4 things. Number 1, avatar. Number 2, location. Number 3, business model. Number 4, deal flow. Avatar, location, business model, deal flow. This is the makings of a business. So what do I mean by this? I'm going to tell you right now. When I say the word avatar, what I mean is the type of thing you like to buy. And in residential real estate, by the way, that encapsulates single family homes, duplexes, tris, and quads. Now you want to talk commercial? Boom, now we're getting into retail, we're getting into manufacturing, we're getting into office space, we're getting into self-storage. You want to throw in apartment buildings, trailer parks, raw land, and assemblage? I'm in for that too. My point is there's a ton of different things to buy. In 8 Weeks to Wealth, we help you analyze to figure out what's the best avatar for you. And when I say best for you, there's a group of you that are like, Jay, I don't have any money. I can't get into this game because I don't even know how I'm gonna make my Tahoe payment next month. So when you say all this, you're missing me. I want you to know having the money is not your problem. That's one of the biggest myths there is. I'll prove it to you. If I said to you right now, I'm gonna give you $1 million in cash, but here's the only rule. You got to deploy it by the end of the day today, and I need at least a 30% return on my money. I don't want to know generally where you put it. Don't say, well, I buy real estate. I want to specifically know what you're buying with my money today. Now, if you don't know the answer to that, that's your problem. Not that you don't have the million. You don't have anything to buy. Because if you did, the million would show up. And you're like, yeah, everyone always says that, but how do you actually mean it? I'd actually give you the money. There's no simpler way to say that. I'd actually give you the $1 million. If you could show me how I get 30% of my money secured by real estate today, I'd actually give it to you. So would Gary. So would Roy. Joy would give you $500,000. There's so many people with so much money. What they don't have is they don't have the person who has the deal. That's the ultimate backstage pass. That's why we're in the real estate business. And I'm going to show you how to do it in a minute. Once you have the avatar, let's just say that this person said, Jason, I want to invest in actual physical gold, not real estate. What's my avatar? Your avatar would be buying individual ounces at least 98.5% pure. And by the way, if you had started doing that 19 years ago, you would have bought them at $600 an ounce. They're worth $1,447 an ounce today. You would have made an awful lot of money. Congratulations. That's what avatar means. Location. Location means where are you willing to buy this thing? You can't look for everything everywhere because you're going to get ripped off. Because if you don't know an area, you don't know the risk. And because you don't know the risk, you don't actually know the value. And this is how you end up buying land or houses that will never be worth anything. Just ask me about how I lost $1.2 million in Scottsdale, Arizona. Greatest story ever. Don't want to get into it. It's emotionally difficult for me. Business model. I want to hit this one hard because there's wild misunderstandings around business model. You know how I know? Because every year I come out of cold storage and I join the face pages for a week. I do it during mega camp and family reunion. Other than that, I'm not on Facebook. And I scroll through and here's my aha. Number 1, every realtor is rich. But we know they're not because of the math. Number 2, every one of them owns a coaching company now. And so I just bought all the products. And they have like hundreds of pages to explain business model. Guys, I got a 1.8 GPA in high school on the 5-year plan. So I just want you to know it's not very complicated. It's just not. Here's how you do it. On the top, you write how much money it brings in. So what does it bring in monthly? Then under it, you write what it costs every month. Trevor, you're going to want to take notes on this one. You write all the expenses and you draw a line. If I lose you, just in the chat, you draw a line and then you subtract the expenses from what it brings in every month. And if it's a negative number, you don't buy it. If it's zero, you don't buy it because that doesn't leave you enough room for life. And if it's a positive number, that's something you might want to buy. And the game is, how much of a positive number do you need in order to feel good about doing it? That's the game. You don't have to understand cap rate. You don't have to have a fancy spreadsheet. You don't have to have a financial calculator. All you have to know is the math that I just gave you. So now we understand business model. What's deal flow? Friends, deal flow means how many times a week does the avatar that I'm interested in a location that I might be willing to buy it, land on my desk each week so I can see if it fits my business model. If the answer is none, you have no deal flow. If the answer is 50 times a week, you're probably going to be really wealthy. Because here's the thing about deal flow. Any deal that lands on your desk falls into one of three buckets. Bucket number one, you buy it. Bucket number two, and this is going to get confusing, you don't. If I lose anyone, though, make sure you stop me. For all the stuff you don't buy, there's only three things that could ever happen to it after that. Number one, you want to sell it to another investor and either take both sides or take an assignment fee. Number two, you want to list it and sell it for that person. Number three, you don't like that person, you don't want anything to do with it. It's really very simple. So, how do you sell it to another investor? I'm going to give you guys the best hack that was ever given to me in real estate. Here's what you do. You go to your current database and you send them a survey. Use SurveyMonkey. And it's only 3 questions. Joy, if you would put it in the chat. Question number 1. Would you like to buy a piece of investment real estate that appreciates and throws off monthly positive cash flow? Yes or no? Number 2, if I could find a piece of real estate that appreciates and throws off positive monthly cash flow at below market price, would you like to buy it in the next 12 months? Joy, typing, please. By the way, now what you've done is everyone that said yes, now they got to then say they would do it in a year and they've said yes again. So now we're identifying the players. Question number 3, if I find that piece of real estate, do you want me to call you? Now you have the opt-in. Now, here's what you're going to do. For every one of those people, you're going to call them and you're going to say, hey, thank you for replying to the survey. We haven't talked in a while. What's your avatar? What type of investment real estate would you like to buy? And they're going to say, what do you mean? What, the kind that goes up in the value and throws off the cash? You're the one that asked me. And you're going to say, yeah, no, I know. But there's so many different types. Let me explain what avatar means. And boom, you just teach them exactly what I just taught you about avatar. You talk to them about all the different things. You tell them why you chose your avatar. And I know you don't know why you chose it yet because that's what we cover in 8 Weeks to Wealth, but that's what you would teach them. Location. Where would you like to buy these things? And they're going to say, I don't know. Where do you think I should? Boom. Now you're talking location. Business model. You're going to say, are you paying cash or are you financing this? If you're financing, let me get in touch with my lender. If you're paying cash, what's the return you need? They're going to say, I don't know. What do you think is best? Boom. You teach them business model like I just taught you. Friends, by the end of this conversation, they're going to think you're absolute Jedi and you will have changed their life for the better. Here's the only part you don't teach them. Deal flow. And why don't you teach them deal flow? Because you're their deal flow. And there's a lot of confusion around how to do deal flow. Let me just tell you the secret. If you would have said, Jason, I want to do triplexes and I know where I want to do it, here's what I would have said. Great. Go to the title company. Let's get a list of every triplex in whatever zip code you want to do. Then let's sort that list by owner's name. So that on the top, we're going to have the 1 or 2 people that own the most of that thing. Under that, we're going to have the next group that owns 4 or 5 of them. Under that, we're going to have a larger group that owns 2 of them. And then we're going to have a huge group that owns 1 of them. Do you all agree with me that that's what would happen no matter what avatar you picked anywhere on the planet? The answer is yes, by the way. That's what would happen. Here's what you do. Anybody that owns 2 or less, they just get a postcard from you every single month. And all it says is, I'm going to tell you what mine says, and then you're going to say, well, what does it really say? This is what it really says. Hi, my name is Jason Abrams. I'd like to buy your triplexes. Please call me on my cell phone, 480-299-0805. It's my actual cell phone number. That's all it says. And anything your broker says it needs to say to keep you compliant and safe, do that too. But that's what mine says. And every month they call me. It's not more complicated than that. You can do this. Then anybody that owns more than 3 of them, I call them in a TCPA friendly and compliant way. I call them. And here's what I say to them. I'm the buyer for your triplexes. And I don't care if I'm buying them today or I'm buying them in 30 years. I'm the only buyer you're ever going to need. I'm your person. You're never going to need to pay a real estate agent. You're never going to need to pay any fees. You're never going to have to look for a buyer. I'm the buyer. I don't overpay. I don't underpay. I just pay what it's worth at the time you're selling it. I'm your buyer. Do you have anything you'd like to sell today? No. Great. I'll call you in 2 months. No, you're good. No, I'll talk to you then. I'm the buyer. I make those calls today on the stuff I'm trying to buy. I'm trying to buy 200,000 square foot manufacturing facilities in certain areas. I call those owners. I do it daily. If that's all you did, you'd have a wild amount of deal flow. You'd have an entire built-in investor network from your current SOI to sell them to, and you would finally be able to start acquiring. Now, let's go back to the drawing. How do you know when you need to deploy the money? Well, if you would have said to me, Jason, I'm buying physical gold at $1,440 an ounce, I'd say, great. Then as soon as it gets right here, $1,440, get the money out of this account and go buy ounces of gold. If you said to me, Jason, my model is to buy $100,000 houses and pay cash, I'd say, great, 100K is right here. Anytime it gets to 100 grand, get it out of the account and go buy another one. If you said, Jason, my plan is to buy $100,000 homes, but put down 20%, I'd say, great. As soon as it gets to 20 grand, go buy another one. If you ask me, from what I'm trying to buy, I need to have 300K. Boom. Every time that happens, I go buy another building. And every time you buy something, and this is where the magic happens, every time you buy something, you get to add another rectangle. And remember, the rectangles make money every month. It either goes up in value and or throws off positive cash flow. And as soon as that happens, boom, there's a new arrow. And I live for arrows. Because the more arrows you have, the faster all this happens. The faster this thing gets filled up and I can breathe. The faster this thing gets filled up and I get to the next line. The faster I get to add another rectangle. And I wake up, and every single Thursday at 4 p.m., I spend a half hour with this drawing. I got it on I'm looking at it. It's on my wall. And here's what I do. I ask 3 questions. Question number 1. Am I on track to pay $0 in taxes this year, legally? If I'm not, you better believe I'm getting on the phone with the tax attorney. I'm going to tell him about my life and find out what questions I should be asking my accountant. For me, Brett Tanner, who I co-teach 8 Weeks to Wealth with, he knows more ways to pay less taxes than any person I've ever met in my life. He's a savant. The second question I ask, where am I in my wealth coordination account in relation to when I need to get the money out of it? Because if I know that I'm coming up on having my threshold and I don't have the right deal, you better believe I'm walking into the office next morning and I'm kicking deal flow into full high gear, even though it's working 24/7. I need more of it. Question number 3, when was the last time I added a rectangle? And here's the deal. If you want to be a part of my life and you're not conspiring to help me add more rectangles, you're not going to make it very long. That's not to say I won't love you. It's not to say that we can't play golf together once a year. I still take guys trips with a bunch of people that aren't interested in being wealthy. They're my buddies. I love them. I now pay for the trips, which is a little awkward, but it's all good. You can't be in my organization though, unless you get me and you're helping me do this, because I love work. I get self-confidence from it and camaraderie, and I get friends, but I'm in this thing to make a lot of money. I don't apologize for it ever, because I use the money that I have to then do the things I want to do. And one of the things I happen to want to do is help other people. Cool. This world runs on cash. I want to have more of it. This is how I use it as a tool. Thumbs up if you follow that. Cool. Then there's no sales pitch here. 8 weeks to wealth is this. You just learned the absolute surface level of these conversations. We spent a couple of weeks talking about how to pay less in taxes. We spent a couple of weeks talking about how money flows. We spent a bunch of time talking about how to go out and do these deals. How do I create lead flow? How do I sign up for it? How do I get them out of my database? How do I assign the contracts? We talk velocity of money. The more of these you have, the more arrows, the higher the velocity of cash. This is what it is. It happens over an 8-week period. It's 1 hour each week. It's hosted by Mark King, Brett Tanner, and I. The link is in the chat. Here's how it goes. You can either take an hour with me live on Tuesday nights, or you can take an hour with me live on Wednesday afternoons. I did both times so that if you have a significant other who works during the day, do the Tuesday nights and bring that person with you. Because if you get wealth and they don't, you're not going anywhere. You're certainly not going as fast as you could. If you got adult children, bring them with you. If you got clients in your databases that you know want to invest, sign them up. You got real estate agents and other companies that you're trying to recruit to put into your profit share to make your green arrow stronger, sign them up. They'll join when we're done. Everyone should be on the wealth journey, friends. Joy, what does it cost? I always forget that part.
$395. But
$390. What? It's $395. But what? What were you gonna say?
But if they sign up because of this webinar, they get 15% off.
Because that's not part of my wealth plan. Is that a new idea?
It's mine.
Apparently, you get 15%. How can you give a discount from $395, Joy? It's like $40 a week for 8 weeks. You think I need to be discounted deeply? Can't even go into it. Apparently, you get a 15% discount if you do this. So for the bargain price of like $35 a week for 8 weeks, you get all of this. You also get access to log in and watch all of the recorded videos for 60 days post when the course ends. The code is WEB15. Any questions? I got the chat open. If you're driving, you can just come off of mute and ask on anything we covered. We got one in the chat. Okay, someone says, let's see.
I've got a direct message, Jason.
Someone said, might be personal preference, but is the wealth coordination account its own LLC or business, or is it in your personal name? It's personal preference. There's a bunch of ways to do it. Mine is in the name of a trust. We cover some of that type of stuff when we actually go deep on the drawing. Because keep in mind, if you have businesses here, they're going to have a profit and loss statement and a cash flow statement. And you're going to want to have those titled the right way. So building wealth and keeping it, very, very important. And we spend some time on the risk mitigation. In your opinion, is it premature to take the class if I am working on a license, or should I hold up? I would absolutely take the class. I don't think I don't think whether you have a real estate license or not, any of this changes. The secrets to getting rich are the same, whether you decide to do it as a realtor or you decide to do it as an individual. By the way, last semester, if you want to call that, we had some people come in. They decided at the end of it that they did not want to get a real estate license, which was a little awkward, seeing as I'm the head of industry and learning at Keller Williams. But they just simply wanted to be real estate investors, and they ended up hiring one of the other agents that was on the call to go be their agent. That blew me away. Is there any recording of this? I missed the first part of this one, but I'm signed up already. Joy, is there a recording of this?
Yes, it will be posted. Graham posted a link earlier. I'll repost it in the chat, or he will. You can watch it on YouTube.
Cool. Tina, I got your text. I'm going to reach out to you directly. Anybody else? Any questions at all? Nothing is off limits.
Oh, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, okay. So if I myself wanted to buy a property and I did get a little inheritance, but I'm full-time in real estate, so I don't have that 2 years of consistent income, do you think I should wait until I have 2 years of consistent income, or is there another option?
Are you buying a primary or an investment parcel?
Well, I don't know, probably just an investment. Well, I don't even have my first, but I want to build wealth.
I think that there's going to be like 7 or 8 other questions to go along with that, because here's the deal. Whether you should buy this one house right now or in 8 months isn't the question. The question is, let's lay out the wealth plan for you to be worth 50 million bucks over the next 30 years. And no one shake their head at that. Being worth 50 million bucks means you buy 2 or 3 of the right things every year. And you just do it for 20 years. So my answer, and I know, Ashley, that doesn't help you immediately, but my answer is, let's put together a real plan as opposed to just asking a one-off question and then see where this fits in the plan.
Okay.
I'm happy to do that. My email is jason@kw.com.
Okay.
So if you email me, I'll try to help you. You, by the way, you should take this course. You'll come out of it with a completely different perspective on cash, wealth, and the money that you have and the money that you know.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, gang. Well, here's the deal. You got, give or take, 80 of us that just hung out. And someone said to me the other day, they said, gosh, in a company of 200,000, do you think it's weird that you're having a call about wealth and 80 people show up? And I got to tell you, that had never occurred to me before, because I don't care about the 199,920. I'm just not worried about that at all. You can't help everyone, but you can always help someone. And here's the thing I know. Everyone on this call deserves to have more money than you ever thought you deserved to have. The only difference is whether you have a plan and a community of people that wake up every day and help you get it. And every one of us that goes and accomplishes, I want to tell you something. If you wake up on the first of every month and all of your bills are taken care of, there's a freedom that comes with that most people will never even remotely be able to comprehend. I promise you, you're closer to it than you think. All you got to do is start. All right, gang, thanks for being here. I hope to see you on 8 Weeks to Wealth. If not, let me just say this. Thank you for being the single greatest part of Keller Williams. It's not what happens in this building, I can assure you. It's what happens out there between you and your customers. That's where the value is. I'm grateful for each and every one of you. See you, gang.